Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another Update-A-Sode of Gish Gallop Girl. Yeah, you may hear some noise in the background. I'm recording in my car. I just got in it. The AC is going. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is I've been getting some emails and some DMs online regarding Candace Owens and the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Now, as I said, months ago, nearly a year ago when it happened, fuck Charlie Kirk. I don't know if him getting popped like he did was, something he deserved or not. But, yeah, I felt nothing about it at the time other than I wanted to watch it until I got really, doled out to it. And that happened. That happened early on. But, yeah, Candace Owens has... Excuse me, had to get a drink of coffee there. Okay, so Candace Owens has used a lot of this Charlie Kirk, fucking conspiracy, death shit as material, She's used it as material because she can only really go after, shitting on Donald Trump. She can only do that so long. She can only do it for so far because what's the alternative? What's the fucking alternative? She can only, she can't really focus on the Brigitte Macron stuff so much right now because of the ongoing lawsuit. I'm sure her lawyer has been like, look, I don't care how you feel about it, but you gotta get her name out of your mouth. So I think Charlie Kirk getting popped and everything that has happened since has been perfect fodder for her to just go all in on it. Now, that all said, as I've said before, our podcast exists as a way for me to kind of track the madness of Candace Owens. I don't see a point in covering much of her Charlie Kirk stuff. A lot of other people are doing that, and hey, good for them, right? I can't do everything. I can't make a show every fucking day. Would if I could. I cannot. That's not my bag, man. I'm not out here making daily rebuttal shows on her bullshit. I do the best that I can with the time that I have. That's why I can take, a month or two between shows, because sometimes the material really gets to me, like it did in the last one, the postpartum depression episode, because she wasn't really talking much about PPD. Most of the cases that she was discussing were not even classified as postpartum depression, by experts. They were far from it. I mean, there's a very narrow window that classifies as postpartum depression, and almost none of those cases were in it. So whatever the fuck. But anyway, I don't want to cover her Charlie Kirk crap. Most of it is bullshit. I mean, I would dare to say anything outside of the available evidence is bullshit. Because, and I have been listening to them. That's part of my penance, right? I have been listening to them, and I can tell you it's no different. And actually, I want to say it's worse than when she was doing all the Kamala Harris bullshit before, the election. Kamala's, not really, whatever the fuck, whatever her thing was, and then saying that Kamala's mother was a fucking, God, that CIA program, fucking, I don't even want to see I don't even want to go into it. I know it's gonna pop into my head soon, and I'm gonna hate myself for it. But anyway, saying that all of this stuff is this vast conspiracy of crap and bullshit. Fuck her, okay? Fuck her. I don't care about it. if any of my friends, colleagues, or associates pull this kind of shit when I die, I hope there's a hell and that they go to it, because this is all just nonsense. Her whole Charlie Kirk thing is utter fucking nonsense. None of what she says is provable. You know, she's pulling just threads from everywhere but the actual source material. You know, it's been one fucking stupid thing after another. And this is kind of gonna be my choice of record on it. I can just point people back to it and be like, look, just listen to the Update-A-Sode if you want my fucking thoughts on the matter. Because again, there's no there. This is just a fucking distraction because she is in a position where she has to do a daily show, and rather than actually do any fucking work, she's choosing to run this bullshit. Now, that all said, I'm filing the majority. I want to leave a little bit of a window open there in the event that something of substance actually comes up that actually has to be addressed at a later date. But I'm filing the majority of her Charlie Kirk bullshit when we get to these episodes in the run. This will be filed as celebrity bullshit. The trial is ongoing for Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson, I have no doubt, was the trigger man. You know, planned it out. Did not do so well on the exit strategy. You know, and he did it. And Charlie Kirk would have approved of his own death, I think. Based on the material I had to make myself familiar with. You know, so I don't mourn his fucking loss. I would have liked to have seen him become destitute. You know, I would have liked to have seen him, you know, skinny, malnourished, in a gutter, needle in arm, something like that. You know, that's the and just old, just someone who's just fucked up and has lived that hard life in an alley for like 40 fucking years. You know, that's the kind of shit that I wanted for him. I didn't want him to get taken out easily. I wanted him to suffer for decades. And instead, you know, we got the Reader's Digest version of it, and it is what it is. But, you know, now we're here. It's nearly a year later, and whatever, man. You know, I don't care. Candace is doing this as a distraction and as a way to get new viewers. Because she doesn't spend every single episode on the Charlie Kirk material. It is quite a bit. It's not everything. You know, my focus is going to be, as it always is, away from celebrity bullshit unless something of actual substance is said or done. So that's my thoughts on the Charlie Kirk, you know, Candace Owens crap. Don't expect us to cover much of it, if any at all, in the future. That all said, Candace has, for some reason, continued to lie about her having a degree in English and a degree in journalism. This has come up a little more often over the last several months, and it's getting little bits of pushback here and there. I monitor the Wikipedia page for Candace Owens, and it's one of those things where it's like as soon as it comes up on there, within a day or so, it's gone. And the actual, you know, the actual factual, proven truthy things, couldn't think of another word, are what's in its place. One of the things that's been pushed out recently is that a person named Candace A. Farmer graduated with a degree in arts No clear, version of that. But a person named Candace A. Farmer graduated with a bachelor's in arts from the University of Rhode Island in 2023. Now, it was pointed out on the discussion of the Wikipedia article when they included that, they're like, oh, her name is Candace Farmer, and a Candace A. Farmer graduated in 2023, blah blah blah. Yeah, no. The Wikipedia editors looked at it, and it was noted that on every bit of legal filing that Candace has done since she was married, her name is Candace Amber Owens Farmer, with no hyphen. Now, the hyphen is or is not important depending on who you are. Anyway, it's not there, right? She does not go by Candace Farmer. Professionally, of course, she still goes by Candace Owens. But yeah, her legal name is Candace Amber Owens Farmer. And so, no, and Owens Farmer did not graduate in 2023. And there's no clear indication that this other person received a degree in journalism or whatever. And unfortunately, there is no way to tell if this is even related. I can tell you from a little bit of research that I did, the name Candace A. Farmer, and the A can stand for anything at this point. Candace A. Farmer, there's a lot of people in America with that name. So it doesn't really narrow it down at all. It's tick after tick that this is not a thing. She does not have 2 degrees. At least not from that school. But she's also never produced any information showing where her degrees are from that she claims to have. I used my Club Candace membership, which I'm not paying for. I'm on the free level still. But it gives me access to see what's in the forums. And nowhere has this come up. It has not come up any particular school. She hasn't made any posts on her own site about it. It is a non-issue that she is just lying about. Just full of shit, like usual. So yeah, that's one of the little things that I've been looking into every now and then. When she goes, oh, I've got 2 degrees actually. No, you don't. You don't even have 1. And I actually reached out to the University of Rhode Island to see if I could get any information about this whatsoever. And I understand them being cautious. I get it. No shade on them whatsoever, man. I understand them being cautious in their answer to me. But they told me that due to FERPA, FERPA, regulations, laws, etc., they did not feel that they could answer my questions regarding Candace Owens' time at their school and whether or not she graduated. So, she is being protected by a law that, okay, fine. All right, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. But yeah, her academic record is being protected, but they wouldn't say whether or not she even graduated. Even I did bring it up to them that, hey, she's saying that she graduated from a college, and you're the only one that, it's ever been proven that she went to. So did she graduate from you guys in 2023? Because that's the closest anybody's come to actually finding anything out about this. And that was basically what I said to them. And their, like I said, their response was, we can't give out information on yada yada. Okay. I'm not here to throw them under the bus. But yeah, they were fair in their answer. And I let it go. What am I going to do? Badger them? No, come on. But anyway, so yeah, we will not be covering the Charlie Kirk bullshit unless something important happens. I think what is more likely and something that we would probably wind up covering, is I could see Erica Kirk or Turning Point USA itself doing an actual, like, no shit lawsuit against Candace Owens once the trial of Tyler Robinson is done. That I could see happening, because she has put her foot in it time and time again. And misinformation like hers could, if a juror is, knowledgeable of any of it in any kind of way, it could throw off the case. I hope it doesn't. I hope that justice is served one way or the other. But yeah, I don't want to cover that shit. My plans after we do A Shot in the Dark episode 20, since I have not gotten my hands on episodes 21 through 28 yet, I think what we're going to do is I've been invited to guest on a podcast that I'll have to get more with the person that runs it. You know who you are. We've spoken recently, first contact and all that. Reach back out to me. Let me know you heard this. Anyway, supposed to be a listener. Anyway, so yeah, we'll probably do that before we jump back into what I want to do, which is I want to go as far back as I can on Candace's material. This would include her original, very liberal side of things. Something that I want to start doing on our website from that point on, and using material, filling in the gaps with material as we go that we've already covered, is as I've said before, I want to kind of use the podcast to track the madness. Not so much as a thing against Candace herself. Give me a second here. Okay. Not so much as a thing against Candace herself, but I believe she has narcissistic personality disorder. And that comes from me knowing a lot of people that were diagnosed NPD. Like, Candace just fucking screams it, right? Narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. Borderline is the only thing more dangerous than NPD as far as I'm aware. Again, personal experience with people that had this in my life. It is fucking frightening to be around one of those people in person. From a distance is the only way you want to ever have to deal with them if you find out. Now, that is different from bipolar. It is different from a lot of other things. Borderline is like, it is so hard to pin down. That's the nature of it. But anyway, yeah, so people like Candace, though, I don't know if you can track where the madness started to where it is now, but I want to try. If for nothing else, then as a study in how this kind of person moves through the world. What kind of pivots and changes do they make based on the things that are going on around them? One of the hallmarks of narcissists that we know is that they can and often do act entirely different based on who they're around. They may be, and I'm not saying that she is this, let me be clear, they may be particularly abusive, verbally, physically, what have you, to a partner, to children, whatever, when the doors are closed. But when they are in public, they are sweet, kind, professional even. But it's when they are in private that the switch is flipped. And which proves that they know how to be better people. They know how to not just get along in the world and get by, but be recognized as something better than they are. They're very good at acting otherwise until they don't feel like they have to anymore. And that's when you see the real person. And something that I used to say when I had actual coworkers in the world, when I wasn't a ship shopper, but something I used to say about new people, especially in restaurants. Anytime I was in one and we hired somebody who seemed great, into work on time, learned as much as they could, helpful as fuck, right? You get somebody like that around you, and at first it feels great, but I got burned so many times by people so early on that, my go-to on anybody was, it takes at least 3 weeks to see the bastard. Sometimes up to 6 months, but the bastard always comes out. The douchebag always shows up at some point. It takes a minimum of 3 weeks to see the bastard, usually. Some people speed run that shit. And good for them. I love to know who somebody is early on. But, I used to tell my coworkers that. They're like, oh, yeah, what do you think of the new guy? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, look, man, it always takes 3 weeks to see the bastard, Let's let him get that first paycheck or two in him. Then we'll see what's up. Let them think they know the place. Then we'll see how they are. Until then, I'll treat them like everybody else, And yeah, like I said, some people, man, they speed run that shit. They're just a dick on day one. It's like, oh, okay, all right, this I can deal with. We know who you are. It can't possibly get any worse. And sometimes it did. But anyway, I want to use her past and track through her present. I don't think it's going to take as long as, going through these Shot in the Dark episodes has, because there's a lot of things that she's done and said over the years that I think we can probably just blow past. Maybe some of her things from her early days, her blog writings and things like that, we can move forward. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up to the community, if you're still listening to this, congratulations, you're in the community. Find me on socials or hit me up over email. Anyway, one of the things that I want to do is, I have a ton of credits on this other AI voice program. And in things where it comes down to Candace's writings, what I want to do is I managed to make a really dead-on AI voiceover of her that I have no problem telling people is an AI. But I feel like hearing her work in that tone, in the tone of something as close to her voice as possible, really does set it up better for the podcast. Again, I don't want anyone to think that it's actually her speaking, but it will be her words said by something as similar to her as possible. A bot, if you will. Because the best thing about that is I can literally copy and paste into the box from her shit, and it will sound like her. Like I said, I did a little bit of work. I didn't do all the work. I didn't code the fucking thing, but I did a little bit of work, and I got it to where it is dead on. And like I said, it's literally her work, so I'm going to start using that. How that'll play out, I don't know. I also don't care. We don't run ads and shit on this show, so we barely make anything on the Patreon. Yeah, this is all out of my own pocket right now still. Well, okay, mostly. Thank you, Patreon members, and anybody who wants to throw us $1 a month, please go to the Patreon link included in this episode. But yeah, in fact, I might even put up a voting tab on that. I mean, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. I think I'll do that. I'll put that up as a Patreon voting thing. No, I won't. No, because while I want to listen to people's views on this, I also want to do it. I'll be honest with you. And y'all's opinions matter. But at the end of the day, I really want to do this. And I want you to know I'm not using a web-based, bot for it. It is locally hosted. Okay? It is locally hosted, and I'm using a solar-powered battery on the computer that does the output. So, no, we're not feeding a baby giraffe into a fucking wood chipper to get a Candace Owens style voiceover of her content. Okay, but yeah, like I said, I'm going to be limiting that to the things that she's done in print, because otherwise her voice is damning enough for her own shit. And I will always preface, the voiceover work with, okay, this is an AI, yada, yada. So that's it. I just wanted to give everybody a little heads up, my opinion on the Charlie Kirk stuff, and just let y'all know that I am working on the next episode. I took some time away from doing it for a moment there because I was looking into going into law school as a serious pursuit. And I hit a snag early on that really kind of fucked me up for a couple of days. And that was that I never finished my bachelor's, right? And my credits are nearly 30 years old and are dust in the wind. So, that's not happening. I am looking into a better option for me that, I'll be able to do more over the next 6 months or so. But I'm going to keep a tight lid on that. Yeah, basically law school is out. I wanted to do it, but I realized, thankfully early enough in, that I wasn't too invested in it, that I would need a bachelor's degree, and I do not have the time to pursue a bachelor's and then law school. That would be a really long time for me, because I would have to do it part-time, and I would rack up student loan debts and shit like that, and I'm not going to do all that. I'm just not. So I found something else, my close friends are aware. The rest of you may or may not find out over time. But yeah, that's it for me for now. I will update you guys again soon, and hopefully my next update will be along the lines of, hey, this is the date that we're going to be recording and putting up the new episode. So yeah, I am working on it. It is happening. It's just, life has been really stupid, fucked up busy lately, but things are moving along. That's it for now, everybody. If you have any questions, comments, or etc., feel free to leave them wherever this video or podcast is posted. No guarantee that I'll see them if you do not reach out to me directly over DM on either Blue Sky or over email. That's it. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.